All right, we are live. Good afternoon and welcome to this edition of the MSP Success webinar series. Really cool discussion that we've got going on. We're really talking here about how to add lucrative MSSP services to your MSP without a bunch of new overhead staff, like level 3 techs. Worry about it, that you don't have the staffing and support to be able to get it done. And so we've got an interactive discussion that we're going to be having here today. This call is recorded. We will post it up on mspsuccess.com. But in this call that we have today is that we're going to be talking about a solution on how to attack this. And then we've got two MSPs of decent size here that have grown. One of the ways that they're growing rapidly right now is through adding MSSP type services to their business, and we're going to be talking with them. And so as we're going along, if you do have questions for anyone, then go ahead and make sure that you put that in the chat there, or actually put it in the questions, but in the chat here as everyone's loading in, why don't you just type in there of where you are watching in from here today. So just type that in the chat. And if you have any questions or just comments as we're going along, you can put those in the chat. If you've got a question you want to make sure that you get to, then you can put that in the question side. I see Matt is on here from Sonora, California. I've actually been to Sonora quite a few times. My grandparents lived there for a long time when I was growing up. They're out of Jamestown, actually. Savannah, Georgia. We got North Carolina, Southfield, Michigan, Nash, Vegas. Oh, wait, that's Tanya. Halifax, Nova Scotia. So we're international here, Jason.
Wow.
So as we get started with this, we're going to have a little bit of a Q&A back and forth. I'm going to be a host on the call here today as we're going through. So I wanted to first bring on Jason Price. Jason from Kaseya. Many of you guys, if you've been out to any of the events here, you've seen Jason. We got Australia here dialing in. I'm not sure what day it is. I think it's Friday in Australia, probably here. So welcome, David, from Australia. So, and Christopher is getting paid, I think, by you, Jason. It says Jason is awesome. So as we're looking at this, let's talk a little bit about a solution here that you have, and we're going to lead with the solution a little bit, then we're going to jump over and talk about with the MSPs of what they're doing technically on this to be able to offer solutions, kind of where they're going, who the target clients are, what's the easiest way of being able to get into those, and then we'll talk about how they're using the solution that you're talking about here. So Jason, welcome on the call.
Happy to be here. How's it going?
All right, going good here. So, looking at this, talk a little bit about the suite and Rocket Cyber and MDR solutions, and exactly of what the solution provides, and how does it fit the need of someone that's looking to add MSSP type services to their MSP business.
Absolutely. So Rocket Cyber is a solution that we have, which is within our security suite that we have at Kaseya. Our security suite has everything from email and phishing security, dark web identification. We have, pen testing. We have about 9 to 10 different solutions which all fit into that suite. But since we're talking about Rocket Cyber is a fully managed security operations center. It is a solution that is 24/7 that gives you security management and incident response. We're able to do everything from detect malicious, suspicious activity, and make sure that we're protecting not only the endpoints, but the network, in all as well as the cloud as well. So our, security, agents are proactively hunting and investigating threats and, and stepping in and stopping attacks in their tracks. They're communicating with you and your team. And a matter of fact, they are an extension of your team. And so that, that's the power of it, right? We can't do it all alone, right? We don't necessarily have all the right people at the right time. And so this solution allows you to have those people there, making sure that your infrastructure, all the small businesses, large businesses of whatever size, are always being protected. There's always eyes looking at them and making sure that, you know, we're staying ahead of any sort of threats.
Jason, from what you're seeing out there, for those that are using Rocket Cyber and are outsourcing that piece of what they're doing in their security stack, kind of what's the biggest use case that you're seeing from the Kaseya side, from the Rocket Cyber side of things? Like, why are they opting to outsource that versus having it in-house?
I think there's a couple different reasons. You know, one reason is that when it comes to making sure that you're available 24/7, it's no easy task. It's something that you have to have the right people from a staffing standpoint, right? People that are going to be available at any minute of the day, making sure those people are certified and are actually capable of being able to identify these, you know, security threats on the highest level. And I think that, you know, when we look at how hard it is to recruit and to actually keep talent, that is a struggle that a lot of our MSP partners face. And so having a solution like this, where we're able to you're able to almost outsource this assistance, I think that is crucial, right? And so from a cost standpoint, it's typically going to be a less expensive cost than trying to find somebody or find somebody or some people to fit that missing gap. I also see, you know, MSPs as, you know, right now the security talk is probably the most we've heard in years. Obviously, you know, from 2014, start off with ransomware, and now ransomware is just a small part of the big puzzle of things that we have to kind of figure out. And so companies are getting more hip to things that they need to make sure that they're protected. So if you're an MSP and you're going to a company and saying, "Hey, we want to be able to provide you with, you know, MSP services," they're asking, "Okay, well, what about the security component? How are you making sure that you can protect us there, right?" And so they're kind of guiding some of that conversation now. And so this gives MSPs who don't have the capabilities in-house to be able to still have that conversation with these different companies and get their foot in the door. So I think those are the two big things that I'm seeing, you know, or what I'm hearing, you know, from my vantage point.
Are you seeing partners roll this out to all of their MSP clients, or being selective on who they roll it out to?
That's a great question. For the most part, I think it's becoming all or nothing, right? It's becoming to the point where, you know, they aren't even saying, "Hey, this is a Rocket Cyber." Most of our partners we're finding are white labeling it and making it their own solution. So, you know, they're able to say, "Yes, we have a security operations center," as opposed to saying, "Hey, we use a tool, and this tool, you know, is a SOC or a security operations center." Um, and I think it's because at this point, if you give people options, right? When it comes to security, there, you know, there's a good chance they're going to choose the bad option, right? And not making sure that they're fully protected all the time. And there's a sense that even if they say no, we don't need it, if there's an incident, there you as MSP is still on the hook, right? And so most of our partners that I've seen, they've distributed this and offered it widely to all of their customers.
So when they're doing that, talk about the economics of this, of how this works. Is it a very expensive? I mean, it's super expensive to create your own SOC, staff
Mhm.
it, have 24/7 different shifts
Mhm.
throughout the day. I was mentioning to you in the pre-call here that talking with a decent sized MSSP. There were 15, 16 people, and they felt like they were not staffed well enough because that just wasn't enough. And these were high level security people here. So it's very expensive putting together a SOC. How does
Absolutely.
that compare to, I'm sure it's a lot less, but how does that compare on the economics for an MSP of adding this to someone perhaps that a lot of those clients, if asked, would not add that level of security to it, or think maybe I don't need that level of someone looking at it 24/7.
Yeah. So if what we're seeing, you know, I've seen situations of savings of up to like a third of what they were typically spending or trying to roll out their own SOC. Um, So yes, I think the savings, are tremendous. But I think, even more important is the level of continuity, right? Of knowing that there's somebody always there that's, that's not calling out, that's, doesn't have to deal with, sick time, doesn't have to deal with, vacations and paternity, any of that type of stuff. We have the infrastructure to make sure that though that still happens, it never affects you or your customers. And I think that's a big thing to add. I also want to say one thing which I didn't say before is that with Rocket Cyber, we have over 25 different integrations with different firewalls, AVs, EDR products. We make sure that, we would love for you to get the benefits of, working within the IT Complete platform, which is the Kaseya platform, and how everything is integrated into one another, and you get tons of cost savings as well as efficiencies. And we know that's not always going to be the case, or it's not always the right time to come all the way over. But with Rocket Cyber, you can still use the tools that you are ingrained with and still be able to get the benefits of using our SOC. Once again, when it comes to our integrations, I think that the benefits are tremendous, and I think that it would be even better or an elevated service. But even if you're using your own, once again, I think that you will find tons of benefits utilizing the Rocket Cyber solution.
So before we bring on Glenn and Bo on this, um, walk me through a little bit of what this looks like. What's a typical scenario of where someone gets hit at 3 a.m. in the morning, and they've got an attack that's going on there, or something that's identified. What happens then with the MSP? Are they getting a phone call at that time, or like what? Walk me through what that looks like for the MSP.
So yeah, absolutely. So yeah, you have once again, you have real eyes looking at, all the different, threats that we're seeing come in. If there is an issue, we are able to, communicate whatever the best method of communication is. Whether it be by a phone call, whether it be email, you will be contacted. That person who's contacting you is going to be, someone who is an analyst, right? Who can actually go into, full depth of like what we're seeing, what we're doing to stop it. We're able to isolate systems, right? So make sure that they're stopping the spread, and we're able to, look at our predefined SLAs as to like what the course of action is going to be. But yeah, it's full on. We aren't just looking and reporting, we are taking action in order to stop whatever threats that we are seeing happening in real time.
Is that defined or worked out with the MSP there of exactly how much, what level of effort that they're wanting you to take?
Yeah, so there's a bunch of when you go through the actual solution, there's a bunch of different options that you have. It's very easy to set it up. You don't have to have any on-prem hardwares or anything of that nature in order to utilize the solution. It's web-based. You go to the site and you actually set up the different parameters you want per site, right? So you may have one site which differs completely in terms of next steps during different scenarios than another site that you may have, right? You may have some that are more tolerable than others. So you get to actually play around and kind of figure out what works best for that customer. Once again, we know that every single customer is a little bit different. They have different needs. They may have different solutions in place that are defined to their vertical. So yeah, you have a lot of play to make sure that you're protected in the way that that particular customer of yours needs to be protected.
Okay, so that's cool. I didn't realize that it's customizable per customer, even with that, not just per MSP.
Correct.
What's preferred. So you've got that you can go up and down. Well, why don't we do this? Why don't we bring on Glenn and Bo? I kind of feel like this is like bringing them out. It's like Jerry Springer here, and we're bringing them out to see if you're telling the truth, Jason.
Yeah.
When we're calling this, but I wanted to bring this up. We're making it of where there's all of this of being able to hear it from Jason of what the solution is, how people are using it. But we've got two real life scenarios of MSPs that are using Rocket Cyber. And so why don't we do this? I'm going to go for each of you. Glenn, I'm going to start with you on this of just tell a little bit about your company, your role at that company, the size of the company, how many employees, that type of stuff, and where you're located.
Sure, sounds good. Thanks, Jeff. So I'm Glenn Gunther. I'm Chief Security Officer here at PCH Technologies. We are here in the Northeast, and we service many verticals. I've been with the company for 12 years, coming up on 12 years, and we service large pharmaceutical companies. Also, the other verticals we also cover are financial institutions, construction, doctor's offices, quite a few other production facilities as well. We're nationwide. We also do have a large international client as well. So we kind of service a little bit of everything. Started out in the MSP. We've been in production, or we've been in existence for 27 years, I do believe. So very happy to be here, and definitely hope to be helpful for you guys.
Glenn, about how many employees, or what's the revenue size of the company?
Sure. So we are right around, I believe it is $6 million, and we have approximately 20, we're 30 employees right now.
Okay, cool. All right, Bo, same thing for you.
Bo Dickey, Chief Security Officer here at Vector Choice Technology Solutions, or Technologies, and we cover multiple verticals, medical compliance, covering CMMC ranges. We do FTC for tax preparers and CPAs. We're covering the different organizations from school districts. We've got a couple of municipalities we support, a couple of law enforcement agencies. So we're covering pretty wide breadth. We operate in 14 states in the U.S., but we also have several clients who are across the pond. So we've got some international coverage there as well. We are 49 employees big, and we cover organizations from everything from 3-person CPA firms to 1,500 employee medical firms. So we've got a pretty wide range of what we support with our security stack.
Very cool. And for disclosure on it too, is that Vector Choice is our IT company. We outsource our IT to Vector Choice. So I don't know if for both side of things, if that's a good thing or bad thing, if we're a good client or not there, but they do a great job. So for both of you, and you can just jump in either of you on this, like at what point did you decide to add MSSP type services to your MSP? Was it just a natural progression? Was it certain clients you wanted to go after? Kind of talk a little bit about that of adding more advanced cybersecurity solutions to the business.
So we started probably about 4 or 5 years ago. I would say we started bringing on more targeting cybersecurity more in regards to just computer security, if you will. So it was probably a good 4 to 5 years ago we started really getting on board with cybersecurity, and we started stepping up our game in regards to products that we were supporting, and then obviously solutions that we were offering to our clients to better secure them.
Kind of what was it just the natural for all of your clients with that? Were there certain types of clients that forced you to get into a little bit more advanced solutions?
Yeah, I would say it's really our clients that are falling under, obviously any type of PCI compliance, HIPAA compliance, things of that nature that really started to drive us into that direction. Along with, we got our SOC 2 starting about 3 years ago, actually. So that was one of our other major things. It made sense.
Okay. Bo, how about you?
For Vector Choice, I think they really started taking the dive into doing security as a service for existing and new clients about 3 years ago, sort of when I came on board and started adding my expertise to the field, having built a SOC from the ground up for an MSSP previously. So that bringing that expertise over and helping to design and build a solution. Compliance, I think, was really the biggest driver for that decision at the time. But, there were customers that were trying to take security more seriously. Threats were evolving. They started hitting mainstream media a lot more, and that started raising some of the awareness in the world as a whole. And I think that's really what started driving that decision. And then getting into it and actually demonstrating what we can do and how we can prevent that made it getting the testimonials from existing customers who were taking it seriously and being able to put those in front of ones who weren't made it a lot easier to have those conversations.
When you're looking at when you're looking at MSSP type services, and there's always the debate that's out there within the channel here of MSP versus MSSP, and a lot of times clients aren't the typical SMB client is not just looking for a cybersecurity company, and so for a certain type of client you really have to cover everything, including cybersecurity. Are you also looking at, do you have clients, for both of you, do you have clients of where you're just doing MSSP work, you're just doing the cybersecurity side of things, and they handle all the day-to-day IT support?
Yeah, so we've got several commit opportunities that we work with where we were brought in to do nothing but cybersecurity services for them. Occasionally they'll escalate to us if they need something from an IT standpoint, but that's usually far and few between, and it's not what we entered into agreements with them for. But yeah, we do the managed security services as well.
When does it usually have that changeover? Is it a size of company? Is it a type of opportunity of where you're just doing the security side of things? How do you differentiate that versus doing full bore MSP?
I think it really just depends on what that organization's needs are, what brought them into looking in the market. Some of them will come to us just for cybersecurity services, and that's really what they're in the market for, and that's how we find them and partner up with them.
Are you usually seeing that by size of company?
No, I've seen it. We've got a 5-person CPA that we just onboarded where, because of the regulation changes for FTC, they didn't have a choice. So they had to make the leap, and that's what brought them to us, was that regulatory change. And I think as the government gets more involved with putting out laws and rules by state and by federal government, that's going to drive a lot more of these smaller organizations to having to have our services.
How about you on that, Glenn?
Yeah, so I definitely see a drive for more of the security related services. I would say a few of our clients on the security side do only subscribe to the security. They're not necessarily here for the technical help, if you will. But obviously our security stack is included within all of our new MSAs that we're going out. There are no questions, it's included. It's just basically a requirement of ours. We might have a few clients out there that still don't have the service, but believe me, it'll be rolled in with their new renewal
Yeah.
coming up in the next year, whenever they're coming up for renewal. It's definitely, as BOA driven, it's definitely driven by the compliances and other state regulations, state and federal regulations, as we're starting to see those really ramp up accordingly.
So before implementing Rocket Cyber, which each of you are using Rocket Cyber, like how are you covering this here in the business? Because I know, Glenn, you were saying it's been 4 years. Bo, I think something similar to that of some of these services. How are you covering it? Was it just putting things together in-house? Did you have a SOC that you had built out?
We didn't have a full-time SOC by any means. We were trying, but again, without having a full managed SOC, it is very difficult to really keep your eye on the pulse and any type of alerts that are coming through. As with, I think, anybody in the industry, it's really those alerts you're really trying to deal with and triage, and it's easy to get buried in them, if you will. So bringing on Rocket Cyber, I believe it's been 3 years, if I'm not mistaken. I just stepped into the security role here within the organization within the last just under 2 years, year and a half, 2 years. So it's really been a great thing for us, just as far as being able to have them be the first hands on those tickets, if you will, doing a lot of the triage and first steps, if you will, bringing that to our attention, and then obviously making a determination accordingly based on what the alert is. Obviously, be it Office 365 alert or some sort of abnormal activity on an account. Really taking those first alerts and then being able to step it into and bringing it into a ticket so we can then triage it accordingly if necessary.
Yeah, and Bo, you mentioned that prior to working at Vector Choice, you had actually built a SOC from the ground up. How does that experience differ from what you're doing here with Rocket Cyber, where you didn't have to build that SOC out and you're being able to utilize this as outsourced as a part of your team?
After having fought through all of those walls and barriers and headaches and pain of designing the SOC, selecting the tools, making sure that everything works, making sure I can point all of the telemetry that I need to collect at my sources and that my sources are actually interpreting it correctly for my analysts, having to find the analysts, train anyone that wasn't at the level we needed them to be for advanced threat hunting and actually going in and doing remediation or prevention. Being able to have an organization that's focused on doing exactly that means that I don't have to have that headache anymore. A lot less tension and stress. I don't have to have a subscription service to a masseuse to get the knots out of my neck every day. So, it's been a lifesaver in having a solution that focuses solely on giving me that. And I just build my solution around what telemetry sources it will take, and I point everything there. And I just have a pulse check where I go in and check every couple of months to make sure that what we're sending is coming through and that it's being read properly and interpreted. So I have a much smaller amount of work I have to actually put into managing that than what I did before. So I'm able to focus on other things in my business and growing my business to add more customers and services to my book.
Yeah, so we had there was a comment that came up during a panel that Bo, actually your CEO, Will Nobles, was on a couple of weeks back at the IT Sales and Marketing Boot Camp in Nashville, that was saying that by adding on and being able to have the coverage, and they weren't even talking about Rocket Cyber necessarily, but having the coverage of the advanced cybersecurity, watching 24/7, reduces the noise for your everyday MSP services. You guys see that as well? I see you both shaking your head yes there, but do you see that? And talk a little bit about what that looks like.
Go ahead, Glenn.
All right, so I will definitely say it does help definitely reduce the noise in regards to anything in regards to what we're seeing. Obviously we'll see, new user added user added to administrative group, things of those natures and those alerts. So obviously first step is I verify, hey, generally my technicians are great about letting us know, hey, we're doing a administrative change on this system, so I can remediate that, and it's it's triaged immediately. Or we know, hey, something else is going on, and or if something's been compromised, we know obviously what steps have been or what has already taken place, so we know what we need to go after accordingly. And then anything along the lines of like the successful user logins from a unknown location. Obviously, we're there, we're reaching out and we're saying, hey, we saw John Smith log on from Mexico. Is he on vacation? Is he on a cruise? Whatever the case might be, especially with spring break that just happened. So that was, nice for us to be able to reach out for them, where we just had a ticket pop in and all we had to do was really reach out to their point of contact and say, hey, is this really a true thing? Do we need to worry about it? Or, password reset, lock the account out accordingly, or is it a non-issue? If it's a non-issue, cool, life goes on. everybody's happy, and we move on accordingly. But it really just saves us a lot of time from having to dig into those alerts and say, all right, what happened? When was it first login? Everything else accordingly. All that information is presented in the ticket, and we can move forward. And it's nice and timely. Great use of our time accordingly.
Yeah, like Glenn said, it's a matter of not having to spend the time to do that initial triage. It's being done for you. The ticket comes into the system. First steps have already been done. In some cases, even second steps have been done. The added benefit is that on those tickets, it gives you next steps, recommended next steps from the analysts themselves of things that they don't have the access to do. So that I don't have to have as many senior level engineers. Though my tier twos can go and follow those steps and get that same work done, and they have a step-by-step guide that acts as a checklist just to make sure it's done. So that's increased there. The added benefit is that in having some of those processes and getting those notices in the way that we have from the SOC, we've been able to design policies and processes that we hand out to our customers. Every one of our customers has a policy in their handbook now that says if they're going to be going on vacation, they have to send us an email notification to our ticketing system to support 3 days before they go. So we can go ahead and account for that. They have to tell us how long they expect to be out of country, what state, what countries they plan to go through. If they're flying internationally and they're going backpacking in Europe and they're going to go through, they don't know exactly where they're going to be. Fine, as long as we know you might be hitting from Europe during this time frame, we still want the alert. We're just not going to go into a higher DEFCON level. So our stress level stays lower. The customer's not having to sit there and get interrupted and bombarded. So it's increased our customer satisfaction in addition to efficiency.
See, I just learned it right now. Now I gotta make a note here to when I go out of the country to there. I've got a few trips coming up here soon. Talk about how are you with this type of solution? Glenn, you mentioned a little bit of this. Maybe you can expand on this, and then Bo, you can add to it. Is that how widespread of this type of service? Is it economical to be able to add it to all of your customers? I think Glenn, you were saying once they come up for renewal, you got some that maybe aren't on the service, but they will be very soon because you roll them into your next agreement. How are you approaching that, and how do you kind of balance that with what the cost is of the service overall?
So I'm going to say we're probably playing catch up like everybody else with, obviously the last few years with the cost of everything going up, cost of labor, cost of just as absolutely everything. So we're really leveraging the fact that, we're bettering our security suite of what we're offering you and what we have to offer you ultimately. It really is not optional. Those that don't have it right now is because their current contract just does not include it. And for us, it's a level of comfort, obviously, because we know that, hey, they're also getting, their firewall logs are getting ingested and being analyzed. Their system, actual computer systems are actually have the agent on it accordingly and are keeping an eye on all of that other information. And, Office 365 logs are getting ingested. So we're able to keep an eye on all of that and report on it and get those alerts. And yeah, much like Bo had driven in, we also have started to drive in, those notifications to say, hey, let us know when you're going on vacation. That is definitely helpful, but we still have those users like Jeff that don't let us know. But we we always have the case of yeah, oops, I forgot to let you know, but yeah, I'll be out for the next week. Yeah. But it's definitely one of those things where, moving forward, it's beneficial to everybody. It's beneficial to the client. We're not bothering them for little things. We're really reaching out to them when we have, some sort of situation that could be something larger, but likely is not. And it's definitely good news for them and us when we're able to just say, cool, we just wanted to check in with you and make sure everything's good.
But what are you rolling this out to, or does everyone have this on their stack, or is it a similar type of situation?
So it's a similar type of situation. We've got several customers that I would say probably about half of our customer base is on it already. Just because we were able to catch them during last year's renewals and start moving them in. There are others where they're now falling under compliance regulations that they didn't have to worry about in 2023 that they now have to meet in 2024. And so that's made it a lot easier for us to have those conversations and get them moved over preemptively prior to their renewals. You know, the world is changing every day. And I think it's a lot easier for us to have those conversations when we can call a customer proactively and say, hey, we just blocked these 5 login attempts from Russia. Do you have anybody in Russia that's trying to log into Office or that's trying to connect to your OneDrive? Because we don't want to disrupt their workflow, but we also don't want to let a threat actor in. And when they say no, and we say, okay, good, because we already blocked it and reset the user account, somebody's trying to do something bad. That's a great conversation to be able to have, but we don't get to be able to have it as often because they don't have that full stack. They don't have that proactive alerting that we get from having a SOC. So often those phone calls ends up being, oh, hey, my email is not sending the way I'm supposed to, or I just got a call from 3 business partners that said that they received an email from me that I didn't send. And that's happening a lot more because the world has changed. Artificial intelligence is being used for malicious reasons, and it's that by design, it's being used to circumvent those controls that we have in place that are a basic level that don't work as well anymore. And so having the SOC with human eyes attached can capture those things a little sooner and a little better than what we would expect from spam content filtering and you know, stuff like that. So that's really why we're trying to push that into being a core part of what we offer to everybody.
So Jason talked a little bit about before something that I hadn't heard of with Rocket Cyber, being able to customize per client. Talk about how you're configuring this for your clients, and do you take advantage of that, of being able to customize different clients in different ways? Either one of you can go first on this.
Yeah, so we because we do a lot of M&A and we buy other MSPs and other IT companies, we end up with a lot of tools in our stack, many of which are ones that we have to stick with and as part of that transition to our chosen and designed standardized stack. So that means I've got 7 different antivirus solutions. I've got 3 different email content filters. I've got 2 different MFA solutions, 7 different firewall vendors. All of that stuff is very hard for us to keep track of. But with the SOC tool and having those integrations, I can point them all there. I don't miss anything, and I still get all of that stuff. So being able to have that tailored per customer based off of what their individual needs are and what their existing solution is, that solves that problem for me while I get them moved over to my paper on our agreements with our standardized stack and add that security there. And then in many cases, we find things that they didn't have under their old solution and we're able to elevate their security, but because they already took it seriously, it's easier to have those conversations. They're more willing to tell us that, you know, they have people in their organization that install software that they shouldn't be installing or that hasn't been approved as a company standard. And we're able to identify those things for them in advance, and in some cases even let them know, because we tailor it to what their business needs are and what helps them to grow.
Cool. How about you, Glenn?
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely very tailorable in regards to, you know, if you need to filter any type of specific alerts. There's a few clients where we do have to, you know, apply certain filtering just because of the nature of their business. So it doesn't necessarily create an alert. Obviously, the flexibility of that within the system is very beneficial, just so we're not receiving any of those alerts, you know, on an ongoing basis that could cause any type of issues. The flexibility of the system being able to ingress the logs from various different sources is also very, very good. Like Bu had said, being able to bring them in for us, it's Meraki. But we do have a few of those clients that we've, onboarded where they still have their existing firewall, be it, SonicWall, et cetera, whereas you do have to bring them in still. Obviously, they're under the stack, so you want to provide those solutions to them. So we're still able to keep that information coming to us until we're able to migrate them over.
From a sales and marketing side of things, and I know you guys are on the operation side of things, but from what you're seeing on this, how much does this open up your capabilities, your expanded capabilities, and offering MSSP services? How much or what type of opportunities does this open up for you?
I'd say it opens up the opportunities considerably. As you say, I'm not on the sales team, so I really don't know a whole lot. But I can definitely say it definitely opens doors. At least brings in that opportunity to say, hey, we realize you're a smaller company, but you still do need security, because we've had people reach out to us and say, hey, we got hit with ransomware last month, 2 months ago, whatever the case is. We want to take this seriously. They don't necessarily need a whole lot of technical ability, but they do need, say, some of the other resources. They might have somebody that's IT relevant in-house, but they don't necessarily need a whole lot of handholding in that regard, but they don't have the cyber expertise. So, they might need the antivirus, the MDR, and the additional help in that regard, and maybe the, security training, things of that nature. And that's one of the things that we can offer them, is we can offer them a full suite, and they just don't need the help desk hours necessarily. So that is one of the options that I would say definitely is helpful for some of those small, medium-sized businesses. Our target ratio, our target client is 15 plus. Obviously, we do have a few of them out there that have been long-term customers and whatnot. So, I mean, we have a wide range of clients that are, I'm going to say, 15 to 50 that might really get the benefit from Rocket Cyber, the things that Rocket Cyber has to offer.
How about you, Bo? I know you do a lot of compliance.
Yeah, so by having a MSSP solution in addition to our MSP offerings, we're able to get in customers who are looking for IT, but they want that added security. We're also able to target customers who are just looking for the security aspect. Ones that either have an internal IT team or they already have an outsourced IT team that doesn't offer security. So we've expanded what we're able to, our market reach, because of having that both in as a part of our normal stack for our MSP, but also as a MSSP offering only. And we've even found where we've been brought in to do security, and ultimately we're asked to take over the IT as a whole, or to add to existing IT services that they may already be getting or that they have on site. Smaller company, they've got 2 IT people. We've seen a lot of growth coming from just having the security solution offered independently without being a part of our staff.
Cool. Hey, Jason, can you talk a little bit about I got to bring you back in here with this as we're getting near the tail end of this, can you talk a little bit about how the pricing structure is for Rocket Cyber, and kind of what that looks like for those? I know we've got a TMT MSP success special deal that you told me about right before this.
Absolutely. And to be frank, I'm not quite sure what the pricing looks like now. We just a bunch of revamping when it comes to the pricing. There's also, some interesting stuff coming very, very soon as well. But, what we do have with, TMT is that we've always had a 20% discount on the solutions. So, just for being a TMT member, that's something that is afforded to you. There will be, I believe, a poll. So if you want to gauge interest in the solution, want to actually, test drive it, want to have a conversation with one of our product specialists, we can definitely set that up so you can see if it's a good fit for you. And then we can get deeper into the price conversation. But from a pricing, you just know that you guys are going to get the best price available with that TMT special that we offer you guys.
Cool. So I've got a poll here just real quick, and then we'll open it up for questions. I think I saw a question that was in here that I want to get to you guys, but let me throw up a poll question here. So just looking at this of how interested, just gives us a sense on this on our MSP Success webinars, is how interested are you in the Rocket Cyber product that we've been talking about here? So go ahead and answer that while we go into some of the Q&A. So if you do have any questions, feel free to put that in the Q&A. I do see one here from Todd. Are there competing products or services to Rocket Cyber? What are the competitive advantages over those other products? So I'm going to throw this out to Bo and Glenn. Bo, I think maybe you first, because I think you're more recent of doing the research on this and looking at Rocket Cyber, whereas Glenn was saying it was implemented 3 years ago. Have you looked at other different solutions out there, and what did you see with Rocket Cyber of why you decided to go that direction?
So we've actually been on Rocket Cyber for 2.5 years, but because I do a lot of get voluntold a lot from Will to do coaching stuff with TMT, I do, part of my job is looking at all of the competing products to make sure that we're handling those. And I get asked a lot of questions by TMT members. So there are competing products out there. Each one of those competing products, for the most part, they're all doing the same thing. The advantage of having it through Kaseya is you probably already have other Kaseya products, and those integrations are very seamless. They're very easy to have to trigger. And they have been expanding that. I've seen a lot of things get added over time that from the stack as a whole. The PSA integration fires off very easily. Microsoft integration works very well. We've got dark web ID that we were using for our OSINT pointed at it. And so now I don't have to worry about the email from dark web ID. I can actually get it through Rocket Cyber. So I'll be honest, I prefer the report I get from Rocket Cyber better than the one I get directly from dark web ID. It's a little more comprehensive, and I know somebody's actually looked at it before it gets to me, and I'm not wasting time on ones that don't include password hits. So there are features that I've found that dark web, the Rocket Cyber has. I can send my third-party MFA services there. I can point multiple email services, multiple endpoint security. And again, for us with our M&A aspect, having the ability to point services that I wouldn't normally buy at it, that's something I've found that works better for my business needs that isn't the case with some of the other SOC solutions that we've looked at.
Glenn, have you looked at other solutions, or is it it's been 3 years, I think, since you've had the solution in place?
So we have obviously keep our ear to the ground. There are other solutions, as Bo had explained, that offer like solutions, but we really find that the offering of things that we can ingest into Rocket Cyber really does, the wide breadth of everything really helps cover the service as a whole, and really is really fluid, and they do a great job of what they do.
I know there was a question on here about comparing to Blockworks. I don't know if either of you have looked at or used Blockworks. I think, Bo, you may have looked at Blockworks at some point, since they're pretty close, do a lot with Producers Club.
Yeah, I've looked at Blockworks, and I like the solution. Great product. Love the people that work there. I have friendships and have made relationships with the employees that are there. Great tool, just wasn't the right tool for us when we were making our decision. It didn't have some of those integrations that we needed or wanted at the time. And so that's the only reason we didn't choose to go with it. But again, it all boils down to what is your business case, and where do you what customers do you want to add to your book of business next year, and looking at that, and that's what helped us decide on Rocket Cyber and go that direction.
Anything on your side on that, Glenn?
I would just definitely, I would say, yeah, I mean, obviously, we look at and we observe what's going on out there, what are the new solutions, and really just try to match up. Is it still a good fit for us, or does it make sense for us to explore other options? Obviously things evolve. So staying on top of that is really the solution, and this is what's been working for us.
Cool. Another question here. Jeremy was asking if our customers are using Microsoft 365 E5 licenses and receive Microsoft EDR, does that work with Rocket Cyber to turn EDR into MDR, or does Rocket Cyber require an EDR client install of their own?
You can point all of the Microsoft services at Rocket Cyber and get that telemetry in Rocket Cyber. You can have those SOC analysts review those alerts so that you're only dealing with the escalated version of those. It does Microsoft Defender, Office 365, and I'm specifically calling out Office 365 separate from Microsoft 365 because they are two different licenses and they do give you different telemetry. But yes, you can point all of those at Rocket Cyber and have the analysts handle that. I don't know if that was a question for Jason. Just I
No, no.
knew that was coming.
I like your answer.
I figured you were going to get into it. Either of you were going to get that over Jason right there. Just day-to-day usage of it. I knew you'd probably have seen that come up with a bunch of installs. Well, I don't have any other questions that are on here. Any parting words from any of the three of you before we wrap up today's call?
I would just say, once again, the way things are shifting, it's definitely important to utilize a SOC. Hopefully, Rocket Cyber is the SOC for you. And I think the one way to see if that is the case is to talk to one of our product specialists, look at your use cases, look at the tools that you're using, and hopefully we fit the bill. But if not, regardless, you should definitely be utilizing a SOC.
Glenn, did you have something to add there too?
I would just say definitely give it a try, and would definitely have that discussion at least. Education's key, right? So I would say definitely open that door, knock on it, and give it a try, and see if it's a good fit. But yeah, definitely moving towards a situation of you're going to need a SOC at one point or another, and it's definitely come to the point where it's rearing its head, where we're going to need to have a SOC in that instance. So definitely would say the same.
Yeah, I would like to echo what Jason and Glenn have said, is that a SOC is another layer in your security stack, and having those eyes on them, you're not going to be open or awake 24/7, but those threat actors are. That they've turned it into a very lucrative business. They're operating the same way as MSPs are now. They have people that are working 24/7. You need it too, and it's hard to hire and staff that type of thing yourself. This gives you the ability to do it without that. Any SOC, whatever it is, it's key to having a solid solution and remaining relevant these days.
Very cool. So I will add, for those that did answer the poll question, it just gives a little bit of a heads up of for Jason and his team of who to connect with. And so we'll make sure that for everyone that answered that they have some interest on it there, that you do get a call, Jason. So we'll get you over that here this afternoon, that list, so you can get it out to the appropriate people. I've got another one that's on here too, that Jeremy, I see your message. I'll make sure of that Jason and team also get that. Jeremy was looking to get pricing info and services there as well. So so good deal. Hey guys, I appreciate it. I know you guys are super busy here in your day-to-day. with that. Thank you so much for taking the time to share your experience, and for everyone else. And Jason, we'll see you soon, I'm sure, here. But for everyone else, have a great day, and we look forward to seeing you on the next MSP Success webinar call. And we'll definitely get this recorded and posted up at mspsuccess.com. Thanks all.
Thank you.
See you later.
Bye.
Thanks.